Quick, give me your prediction for the game.
I'm going to take, don't tell my former Jaguars teammates about this, but I'm going to take the Eagles.
Welcome back. Joining me now is Clay Harbor, NFL analyst for CBS Chicago. Clay, thanks for joining me, man.
Appreciate you having me on, Seth. Appreciate
Awesome.
it, man.
Awesome. As a former Eagle and Jag and a teammate of Doug Pederson, what is the biggest change that you see that he's created among this young team?
It's the culture. So there was 3 training camps that I went to before the season started. One was the Bears, one was the Eagles, and one was the Jaguars. And I've played with the Eagles and the Jaguars. I've been there. He's made a change in culture. These players now believe that they can win games. When I was in Jacksonville for 3 years, we won 12 games in 3 years. Doug has them believing that they are a competitor and they're in first in the AFC South right now and that they can win these games. So the biggest thing I've seen is the culture, the way he set up the players to succeed, and he has their back. Coming off of a year when they had a coach that really didn't have their back and going through a lot of changes there, Doug has really been a good presence for this team.
You know, I can't go on without at least talking about him as a teammate and as a Super Bowl winning coach. What is it? Did you see anything in Doug Pederson that led you to believe that he would be successful as a head coach in the NFL?
Absolutely. When Doug was my quarterback coach back in Philadelphia, he was one of the guys. Everybody loved him. He's a guy that's been through it, been there, played in this league. And he was the protege of Andy Reid, Marty Mornhinweg, and these successful guys. He had some mentors, and they all believed in him. And when you have a guy like that, the stamp of approval from Coach Reid, Marty Mornhinweg, you know a guy's going to be successful.
So let's talk about how he's transformed Trevor Lawrence in one offseason. And we're starting to see now why Trevor was drafted #1 overall 2 years ago.
Absolutely. Doug's done an incredible job with Trevor Lawrence, and I think it comes back to the fact that Doug's actually played in this league. And to me, the main reason he's transformed so much is obviously Doug. He has Doug to rely on, to go over plays with, to go over his technique with, but Doug brought in an incredible staff that's main goal was to help Trevor Lawrence succeed. He brought in Jim Bob Cooter, who was an offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions for 4 or 5 years. He brought in Press Taylor, old Philadelphia Eagle, to be the offensive coordinator, and he brought in his quarterback coach, Mike McCoy. This guy was with Peyton Manning for years. He was with Phillip Rivers. Mike McCoy was a head coach in this league for 5 years. Now he's Trevor Lawrence's quarterback coach. His whole job is to progress Trevor Lawrence. Trevor has a bunch of coaches around him that have helped him to take his game from below average to excelling to be, in my opinion, one of the top 10 quarterbacks in this league this year.
Well, there's certainly no doubt that, there's a massive difference between Urban Meyer and Doug Pederson. Let's talk about some key moves on the roster by Trent Baalke, GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars this offseason, and how he's improved the roster of this football team.
Before the season, Trent Baalke was seen as one of the worst GMs in the league. And I think this year he's really proven people wrong. I mean, let's take a look at the players he brought in. The Jaguars had the worst receiving core in the NFL. This year, Christian Kirk and Zay Jones are both in the top 20 of Pro Football Focus rankings for wide receivers. Zay Jones is 14th in receptions. Christian Kirk is 8th in yards, 2nd in touchdowns. He's on pace to have 1,500 yards this year. He also drafted Devin Lloyd, who is the 8th ranked linebacker in the entire NFL on Pro Football Focus. Foye Oluokun is a name you might not have heard of. They brought him in from the Atlanta Falcons. He led the entire league as a linebacker, Seth, with 192 tackles last year. That's why this team is so tough against the run.
And now listen, this defense just might be the best unit of this team overall. Talk about the job that former Eagle Mike Caldwell has done as the defensive coordinator of this defense. And I mean, this Jags defense is only surrendering 55 yards a game and going up against this Eagles defense, which boasts a top 3 rushing attack, something's got to give.
Something's got to give is right. I know you got Miles Sanders, you got Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott coming in, obviously Jalen Hurts on the zone reads. Great run team, but the Jaguars are the 2nd-ranked run defense in the entire league. Folo Fatukasi, old New York Jet, came in. He's plugging holes in there. He's doing a great job in Mike Caldwell's scheme. Devin Lloyd, he might be the defensive rookie of the year this year. He's having such a great year. Foye Oluokun, once again, I got to mention him. 192 tackles last year. He is smart. He is from Yale. He gets his whole defense set up, and to me, he's one of the biggest reasons they are so good. And I have to mention Trayvon Walker. He's only got 1 sack so far this year, but he is setting the edge like a madman. They are not getting outside of him.
Okay, Clay, so give me 2 players to watch on offense, 2 players to watch on defense, and your thoughts on possibly being the toughest test for the Eagles and the toughest test for the Jaguars moving forward this season.
The Eagles' defense is great. They got to make sure they stop the run. James Robinson, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's got 230 yards this season. He's 9th in the league. He's 3rd in the league with 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 4.2 yards a carry. This guy can run the ball great. Last week against the Chargers, he had 42 yards after contact. After contact, this guy's a hard runner. You got to stop James Robinson. And then also Christian Kirk. This guy has proven that he's a #1 receiver, and everybody's saying he's overpaid. He set this wide receiver market. Guess what? He's earned every dollar. To me, he's underpaid. He's not overpaid. This guy's on pace for 1,500 yards. You got to stop Christian Kirk. And on defense, you got to have a plan for Josh Allen. Last week, Josh Allen, the Jaguars defensive end, former first-round pick, had 10 pressures, didn't get a sack, but he was wreaking havoc last week on Justin Herbert. 10 pressures in 1 game. And then on defense, I've mentioned him a couple times now, but Devin Lloyd, 3 pass breakups. This guy can run with Dallas. This will be one of Dallas Goedert's toughest matchups. This guy can run. He's got 4.4 speed, 10-foot broad jump, 40-inch vertical. This guy's an athlete that can stop the run and pass. Devin Lloyd, first-round pick last year, was overshadowed by Trayvon Walker because Trayvon was the #1 pick. Devin Lloyd, a player to watch. He can ruin a game.
Quick, give me your prediction for the game.
I'm going to take, don't tell my former Jaguars teammates about this, but I'm going to take the Eagles 27-24. Jalen Hurts, his high-powered offense, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert. Get the tight end the ball. My man only had 3 catches last week. You know I'm biased as a tight end. I want to see Dallas get the ball a little more. But all-around team, I'm taking the Eagles winning 27-24, closer than most people think, though.
Cool, man. Hey, listen, Clay, thanks for your time. Appreciate your time and your insight. When I come back, fantasy football and sports betting expert Brad Feinberg joins me with his picks for your fantasy lineups and the favorites for Week 4. This segment is sponsored by Davis Honda. I drive a Davis Honda, and you should too.